morning, good evening, or good afternoon, and welcome to Across the Pitch, Accrington Stanley preview/review show. My name is Phil Kennedy, and as always for these episodes, I'm joined by Tony Robinson. And Tony, it's a damn good time to be an Accrington fan, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. You just got to love a result like that. I mean, generally we're used to seeing ones that you call squeaky bum time, as my good friend David Davis likes to say. But to have a 3-0 lead going into the second half, it's like you say, it's just a great time to be a Stanley fan, and they're playing some really, really excellent football.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that the biggest thing to me, and it's most encouraging, is Stanley. They've always seemed to, John Coleman's always seemed to put together a quality starting 11, if you will. But this is the first time that I've seen a squad that has depth and quality. And, with the injuries to Uwakwe and Ross Sykes, who, in terms of talent are probably two of our top 5 players, having been out. We're still beating teams. We still have 2 clean sheets in a row. I mean, I thought 8th was ambitious with our quarter season preview, but I mean, the sky is really the limit for this team. I'm not saying they go out and get an automatic promotion, but I'm not saying that they couldn't either with what I've seen.
Well, I think as we mentioned when you talked about depth, one of the key areas is in the back three with the system they're playing this season. When you've got Michael Nottingham coming in to take over from Sykes, and that back three hasn't missed a beat, to the point where you're not mentioning Sykes' name as much because the quality is there. To the point where he made last week's League One team of the week. So the back three is solid, and Toby Savin is just settling in and he's playing with confidence. You can hear him talking to the defenders. For a fellow so young, he's certainly learned from the players and people that have come in on loan like Bursick and the coach at Stanley, Tony Warner. We've got to give credit where credit's due. So those back four really are playing well. And then, as you said, what can you say about the midfield? I mean, you mentioned that. Look at the depth in the midfield, to the point where on Tuesday night they had Rogers come in, and I thought he played well.
Oh, absolutely. I think Harvey Rogers has been a really understated player. I mean, especially since Sangare's been out. He has really stepped in and filled that role. He's a versatile guy, too, that can play several positions. And just getting back to Savin and how good he's been, he's got a 73.7% save percentage, 4 clean sheets in 9 starts so far, 1.11 goals allowed per 90 minutes. Those are all stats that are right along the lines of what you want to see as a top keeper. I know in the last episode I was talking about getting down on Simon Eastwood and his 55% save percentage and 1.90 goals allowed. Savin is at 74% and 1.11 goals allowed. And of course, so what we're talking about is, of course, last year Oxford was a top team. They were into the playoffs. And so Savin is putting up the same kind of numbers that an Eastwood put up in a playoff campaign last year.
Yeah, they're playing with a lot of confidence, and you could see that in the performance. But and we talk about the midfield, and you've got to start off by saying what a performance from Joe Pritchard on Tuesday night. I mean, he's just growing game in and game out, to the point where we're not talking about Matt Butcher as much or John Russell, but I mean, you've got quality right across that midfield, and Seamus Keneally, I think sometimes he said people don't give him enough credit because He's not a flashy player like Joel Pritchard, but he is so steady and cleans up the, he just doesn't make many mistakes. And he's like Mark Hughes, where he's just a solid performer.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And one other thing that we kind of need to keep an eye on is Lewis Mansell, who he subbed on at halftime for Colby Bishop. Bishop had scored a goal in the first half, so I think this was more of they already had a big lead and just wanted to get Mansell some game time than anything Bishop did wrong, considering he had already scored. But Mansell, he's an interesting guy. He did, come in and he got a goal in a cup game in his very first appearance. But, just looking at his career, he's not really a guy that has a whole lot of playing time to look at. I mean, he made 2 starts with Partick Thistle last year, two starts with Partick Thistle before that. And then before that, he had been with Blackburn at the youth division. And then, it's just he's another unknown. But when John Coleman digs up guys like that, there usually seems to be something to it. The other thing that I want to mention about him is at 6'2", he gives us some size, which is something that other than Bishop, we don't have at the striker position.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, the 2 points to that is we're giving Mansell some playing time to get him match fit. And I like the fact that he gave him 45 minutes when the game was really, in all intents and purposes, decided. And so that's a good move by John Coleman. And maybe it was just to give Bishop a bit of rest because I think of a player that's played a lot up front and runs himself into the ground is Dion Charles, and he stayed on and played. So unfortunately, I had issues with my iFollow in the second half, and I missed quite a bit of the action, Phil. So one question I wanted to ask you is, did Accrington do you think they took the foot off the gas a bit in the second half and let Swindon have a little bit more of the ball, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think so much, because I'll tell you for sure that it should have been 4-0, because there was a ball that I think it was John Russell that he drove it directly into the keeper that should have been a 4th goal. So I think that with Mansell out there, certainly you're bringing in a guy who the rest of the forwards and the wingers aren't necessarily used to be playing with. Obviously, up 3-0, you're going to be, a little bit more conservative. But at the same time, Sean McConville, he kind of said on the broadcast that he knows that at halftime, if you go up 3-0, John Coleman says go get that 4th one and put it to bed.
Yeah, they certainly did what we wanted them to do, is get more shots on target, 18 shots in total and 8 on target. And I think with the one for Russell, I think he learned a lesson there, because he tried to put on his right foot and score like he did in the last match, whereas I think he now going forward, the ball was well played to him. Instead of taking it on his left and putting it onto his right, he should have just slotted it in with his left, because I think he would have scored on that. But that's again, he's a young player and he'll learn from that. But definitely that, and he was involved. I believe I saw the highlights because, as I said, my internet cut out when they scored that second or the third goal, which was Barcelona-like or Man City-like. I mean, the passing was outstanding, and there's several players involved in that build-up. But what was your impressions of that play?
It just really shows how well that the midfielders are starting to work together, and how the pieces really fit into the system. Now Darren Woodhead is going to say this is some new horse hockey, if you will. But we were talking about the different positions on the field. It was Stanley in the midfield. Now, I think that we're starting to clarify that that you're going to have Seamus Keneally. He's going to be your number 8, who's going to be your guy that stays back with the defenders. And then Butcher, who I expected to be the number 6, which is your guy who mostly goes back on defense, but also comes forward. That guy's going to be Russell. And then now we have Butcher, who's really flourishing in that number 10 role. And it just seems to me where you have Keneally, Butcher, Russell, and then Pritchard. It's kind of those 4 are all working together for a unit. And then you've got Dion Charles, who was, like I said, the man of the match in my mind. I mean, you finally saw all the pieces hitting at all cylinders, like you were talking about, where last week you were saying all we need is production from the strikers. We finally hit on that, and that's why your prediction hit the way that it did.
Yeah, and I think with Seamus is the ability he has in cleaning things up and staying back. Butcher, Pritchard, and Russell are all getting comfortable with him in that role, and so they don't mind. They are comfortable to go forward and interact, and that's, as I said, where you can see Russell going forward and Pritchard really working well on the wing and coming inside. I think he's just he's brought his game to a new level this season, as Joe, and we're seeing Russell improve. And you know, I mean, it's unfortunate because Rogers had a good game, and it's just when some of these players that come back, it might be, unfortunately, Harvey might just be in the numbers game, that he may be the one making way. We could see McConville. I thought he just apparently wasn't ready for Tuesday, but we might see some of him on the weekend. I'm not sure Sangari, he's back in training, but I'm not sure if he'll be ready to go. But John Coleman, he trusts those players. If they say they're ready to go, he puts them in. So it'd be interesting to see if we actually start out with the same lineup against Lincoln, then ended the match, or I should say started the match at Swindon. But, you know, in the next couple of weeks, like you've got, as you said, Sangari and McConville, and then you're going to have you Walkway and the Sites coming back. I'll tell you one thing, it's going to be a tough job for Coleman, a good job, but it's going to be tough for him to pick a team in starting in the next week or two.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a different situation. It's probably a problem that John Coleman never thought he'd have in his life. He's probably pitching himself on the sideline saying, wait, I really have more than 11 good players?
Well, I think it's a chance for Mansell to, you know, while people are away at international duty and are out a bit, he's got a chance to make some move up the depth chart on strikers as Mansell, and we'll see if he sees some action again on the Saturday against what should be a really, really good game with Lincoln coming in to take them on. I think I'm expecting a really good match there.
Well, that's a perfect transition into the review section of the show. Hey, Tony, yeah, I think this is going to be a measuring stick game for Stanley, because I think that Lincoln has gone and done enough against enough good teams, and, you know, through 11 matches played at 5th in the table, they've showed that, you know, they're going to be a team that's up there, at least fighting to get into the playoffs all year. So, I mean, to me, how Stanley performs against Lincoln is going to be a good measuring stick. I mean, it's one thing to go out and beat a Swindon or some of the other teams that they've beaten. I think if they could beat Lincoln here on Saturday, you know, I think that this is the biggest measuring stick game of the season for Stanley so far. You know, especially being at home, they have to, you know, assert that the Wham is a fortress.
Well, I think, again, it's like an old cliche, but the start is important for Stanley. Lincoln are coming off 2 losses in a row, And so you don't want to give them any advantage. You want to sort of take the game to them. You are playing at home. You want to start with possession and put some pressure on, and it would be great to get the first goal as always. But yeah, it's going to be a tough match. But a couple of weeks ago, if we'd have previewed this match, I'd have been very nervous and sort of not as hopeful as with the result that I'm feeling now. And I know we're talking, we are the Stanley show, but I do honestly feel that Stanley has a really, really good chance to win this one.
Oh, absolutely, Tony. And that's what I was getting at, kind of when I was talking in the preview episode. I mean, I know I've been very pessimistic in the weekly predictions, but I mean, you have to always, when it's early in the season, question things. But I mean, I think that we're starting to see things where we can say, yeah, this team might not make the playoffs. They might not even finish in the top 10 when all is said and done, but there's a real good chance that they can also. And I think that they've at least proven they can play with anyone. And the odds makers seem to think so too, because I mean, Lincoln is a slight favorite. Right now, Stanley is plus 185. Lincoln is plus 143. But I mean, it's not a massive thing where, you would think if Stanley was playing fifth of the table team, even at home, that they're going to be, more than a 2-1 underdog. They're not. The plus 230 tells me that, this is one to watch out for a draw. And that's where I think I'm leaning towards, but I'm not going to give my prediction quite yet. I do want to mention that historically, this is an interesting matchup because these two teams, they first met in 2006 in League Two. They've actually played now 16 times since, so they've done a pretty good job of always being in the same league together. It's been mostly towards Lincoln's side of things, but it hasn't always been. Where Lincoln has 9 wins, Stanley has 5 wins, and there's been 2 draws. There hasn't been a draw since 2011. The last match actually was won by Stanley 4-3 at the Wham in February. The previous time they met was actually the very first game of last season. That was at Lincoln on August 3rd, 2019. That one was won 2-0 by Lincoln. So it seems like just looking at, in fact, at the last 6 times that they've met, they're 3-3 with the home team winning all of them. So it's definitely at least since 2017, it's been a series dominated by the home side.
Well, it seems like maybe with the odds makers that still they're, am I correct in reading that they're still not giving Stanley the respect yet, or they don't think Stanley are as good as what they're doing at the moment? Is that, am I on the right track with that, or am I reading that wrong?
Well, I'm just kind of given some different numbers here.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think one thing that you have to take into account is that the Stanley is going to be on less rest than Lincoln, and they have some injury problems. So, I mean, that could be a factor. I mean, Stanley is just in such good form and playing with such confidence. Meanwhile, Lincoln had their last match postponed. Before that, they had lost to Portsmouth. So, it's been a few weeks since Lincoln's won a game.
Well, yeah, you might say that gives the team with a rest a bit of an edge. But Stanley has been off for a couple of weeks and then have come back with some really improving performances in the last 3 matches. And as I said, they used the matches before as sort of almost a preseason. And I think they're hitting their stride now, full tilt. Yeah, I'm seeing this one as a home win, Phil.
Home win?
Yeah.
What's your score, Tony?
Well, I'm going to go with a 2-0 home win.
2-0. Well, I like your 2, but I'm going to say both teams get 2. This is going to be a 2-2 draw. That's kind of what I've been building up towards, is that there's good points you can make for either side, where, you know, one team's got the rest, one team's got the momentum, one team's got the home. You know what I'm saying? So that all adds up to a draw for me.
I'll give you,
as I will say with my new catchphrase, I hope that I'm wrong and you're right, Tony.
Well, I was going to give you one more chance to pick a Lincoln win, because I feel more comfortable when you pick a team to win, because then Stanley comes through. But we still a draw. I still gives Stanley a chance to come through.
Well, Tony, that was about all that I had written down. Did you have anything else that we had missed?
No, I think we've covered it. It should really have the makings for one of the best matches of the weekend, and let's hope it's that Stanley come out with full of confidence and convert their chances. If it can continue on with that performance against Swindon, then we should be in for a good match.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first time that you can legitimately say, since Stanley's been at the League One, that you look at the schedule and say, you know, Stanley and Lincoln, this is really one of the top matches of the week, not just, you know, like a 6-point relegation game at the end of the year, but like actually playoff implications in this matchup. It's, you know, we're at the quarter point of the season, but I mean, you know, with the way that both of these teams have played, I don't think that you can really at this point say that either Stanley or Lincoln isn't at least somewhat for real.
Yeah, and I both teams are doing better than people anticipated. I don't think you can say any one of those two teams are overachieving. I just think a lot of people underestimated both teams and both managers. Especially Appleton at Lincoln. I mean, he's doing a really, really good job. And of course, Coleman is doing his normal outstanding work at Stanley. So, it should be a good one. And let's hope you're wrong again, Phil.
Yes, and of course, good luck to our friend and Imps supporter, Matt Pierce, and every week except for Saturday and later match in Lincoln. But until then, on
Stanley, on.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Afloat posters. Now you can get top quality, high gloss, full color infographics from Afloat Posters featuring all of the clubs from your favorite league, including EFL League One and USL Championship. Afloat Posters also has infographics featuring defunct historic leagues and even new infographics featuring past and present teams from your hometown. You can get 3 different sizes of posters at Afloat Posters, starting at just $8.99 US. And now, you can save 10% on anything at the website, afloatposters.com, using the promo code ATP10. That's ATP10. Just enter that code at checkout for 10% off at Afloat Posters.